In relationships, attention is everything. It's the currency we trade. We spend it, we invest it, we give it away freely, and sometimes we guard it carefully. The way we distribute our attention determines the dynamics of any relationship. And the funny thing, the moment you stop giving it away so easily, the more valuable it becomes in his eyes. Think about it. When something is always available, always accessible, always within reach, we tend to take it for granted. Imagine your favorite song. It's exciting the first few times, but if you play it on repeat over and over, day in and day out, the excitement starts to fade. You don't lean in to listen anymore because you already know every word. You don't crave it because it's always there. That's exactly how attention works in attraction. If you are constantly reaching out, constantly texting, constantly showing up, he never gets a moment to feel your absence. And if he never feels your absence, he never realizes your presence is special. Here's where the shift happens. The moment you stop handing over your attention so freely, the dynamic changes. Suddenly there's a space where your energy used to be. And what happens when there's a space? The mind rushes to fill it. He starts wondering, where is she? Why hasn't she texted? Is she thinking about me? That curiosity starts to stir something inside him, something he didn't even realize was missing before. And that's where attraction deepens. Not in the moments when you're right there, but in the moments when he notices you're not. People don't truly appreciate what they have until they feel the contrast of not having it. If you're always the one initiating, always the one checking in, always the one making an effort, then he never gets to experience what life feels like without that effort. He gets all the benefits of your presence, your warmth, your energy, without ever having to work for it. But the second you step back, the second you stop flooding him with attention, he is forced to confront a new reality. One where you are not constantly validating him, not constantly showing up, not constantly making it easy. That's when he starts to feel the difference, and that's when he starts to value you more. We all crave what feels uncertain. It's human nature. The thrill is in the unknown. When you don't immediately respond, when you don't always make yourself available, when you live your life fully without waiting on his next move, that's when you become interesting. That's when he starts thinking about you, wondering what you're doing, questioning if he has your attention anymore. And guess what? That's a good thing. Because when someone has to work for something, they value it more. When something isn't instantly available, it becomes desirable. And when you stop giving constant attention, he suddenly starts feeling the weight of your absence. This isn't about playing games or manipulating someone. It's about understanding the value of your energy. It's about recognizing that your attention is a gift, not a given. And if you keep pouring it into someone who isn't reciprocating in equal measure, then you're not just wasting it, you're lowering its worth in their eyes. But the moment you reclaim it, the moment you start directing that energy toward yourself instead of someone who hasn't earned it, everything shifts. He starts noticing, he starts missing it, he starts realizing what he had when you were giving it freely and what he's losing now that you're not. The power isn't in chasing, the power is in knowing your worth so deeply that you don't need to chase. It's in having the confidence to step back and let someone come to you. It's in creating a space where someone has to decide to step forward. Because when they do, it's not out of convenience, it's out of genuine desire. And that is where real attraction lives. So if you ever find yourself wondering why he isn't chasing, why he isn't making an effort, why he seems indifferent, ask yourself this. Have you been giving him everything without requiring anything? Have you been making it too easy? Have you been so available that he's never had to experience the contrast of not having you? Because if the answer is yes, then the solution isn't to push harder, it's to pull back. Not as a tactic, not as a trick, but as a shift in mindset. Because the moment you realize your attention is valuable, the moment you stop throwing it away like it's limitless, that's the moment he starts to feel it, and that's when everything changes. We all have a tendency to want what we can't have. It's human nature. The moment something feels just out of reach, we suddenly find ourselves obsessing over it. It happens with jobs, with opportunities, and especially with people. The more scarce something feels, the more valuable it becomes in our minds. And when it comes to attraction, this principle is even more powerful. Because what's more compelling than someone who isn't making themselves too easy to attain? See, the problem most people face when they like someone is that they overcompensate. They flood them with attention. They make themselves available at all times. They show in every way possible that they're there, waiting, hoping to be noticed. But what happens when you do that? The person on the receiving end doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to invest. They don't have to question how you feel because you've already given them the answer. And once there's no mystery left, there's no pull, no intrigue, no desire to chase. Now, imagine the opposite scenario. Imagine you're the person who isn't always available. Imagine you don't reply instantly to every message. Imagine you have a life so full, so rich, that your attention is something that has to be earned. What does that do? It shifts the dynamic completely. Suddenly, you become the one who is desired. You become the one who is pursued, because now your presence feels like a privilege, not a given. When someone gets too much of something, they stop valuing it. It's why we take things for granted when we know they'll always be there. Think about the people in your life, the ones you see every day. You barely stop to consider how much they mean to you until they're gone, until they stop showing up in the way they used to. And then suddenly you feel their absence. It's the same in attraction. The moment you step back, the moment you stop giving all your attention freely, that's when the other person starts to feel it. They start to notice the gap. And instead of being the one doing all the work, they begin to wonder about you. Where are you? What are you doing? Why aren't you chasing them like everyone else? This isn't about playing games. It's not about manipulation. It's about recognizing that true attraction isn't built on how much you can give to someone. It's built on the balance of effort. It's about creating an energy that pulls them in rather than pushes them away with too much availability. When you're always there, when you're always responding instantly, always prioritizing them over yourself, it doesn't make them want you more. It makes them comfortable. And comfort isn't what creates attraction. Think about the last time you were really drawn to someone. Was it because they were easy, or was it because there was something about them that felt just a little bit unattainable? That feeling, that little bit of uncertainty, is what sparks attraction. It's what keeps someone engaged, interested, and invested. But if you remove all of that, if you give too much too soon, you take away the very thing that makes attraction exciting. The truth is, people don't value what they don't have to work for. If something is always available, always within reach, it doesn't feel special. It feels ordinary. And no one craves ordinary. People crave excitement, challenge, something that feels just beyond their grasp. That's what makes someone irresistible. That's what makes them unforgettable. And that's why ignoring someone, not in a cold or rude way, but in a way that signals your life doesn't revolve around them, makes them feel your presence more than constantly chasing ever could. It's about creating space for them to think about you, space for them to wonder, space for them to feel the pull of your absence. When someone knows they can have you whenever they want, they don't have to try. But the moment they feel like they might be losing you, that's when they wake up. That's when they start to question their own feelings. That's when they start to invest. This is why pulling back works. It's not because you're being manipulative. It's because you're forcing them to recognize your value. You're showing them without saying a word that you are someone who won't settle for being an afterthought, that you are someone who has a life, a purpose, and self-respect. And nothing is more attractive than that. If you want someone to feel your presence, don't give it away so easily. Make them earn it. Make them realize what they stand to lose. Because the more scarce something is, the more valuable it becomes. And in the end, people don't chase what's easy. They chase what they fear they might never get again. When you pull back, something fascinating happens. He starts to feel it. Not in the way people think, not in a conscious, oh, she's ignoring me, I should probably miss her kind of way. No, it's deeper than that. It's subtle. It creeps in when he least expects it. when he's sitting alone, scrolling mindlessly on his phone, and suddenly there's no message from you. When he's used to a certain rhythm, a certain level of attention, and then suddenly it's gone, his brain starts to notice the absence. Before he even understands why, he feels a little restless. People tend to assume that when you ignore someone, they just move on. But that's not how human psychology works. We don't register what's always there, we register its absence. Think about it. If you live next to a train track, you stop hearing the sound of the train after a while. It becomes background noise. But the moment that train stops running, suddenly you notice the silence. The lack of something familiar becomes louder than its presence ever was. That's exactly how emotions work in relationships. When you were giving him all this attention, when you were the one initiating, responding, quickly making yourself available, it was easy for him to take it for granted. But the moment you step back, something shifts. This isn't about playing games. It's not about manipulation or withholding affection to force a reaction. That's not what this is. It's about creating space for someone to actually register what you bring to their life. See, if you're always there, always filling every gap, always making it easy, he doesn't get the chance to wonder. He doesn't get the chance to ask himself, wait, why don't I feel as good today? What's missing? It's that emotional space, your absence, that allows him to connect the dots. Men often operate in a way where they process things later than women do emotionally. You may have already thought through every scenario, played out every possibility in your head, felt the highs and the lows and come to your conclusions. But men, they don't always feel it in real time. It sneaks up on them. And that's why stepping back isn't just powerful, it's essential. It allows reality to catch up to them. It forces them to sit with the emotions they would otherwise push aside because they were never given the space to feel them in the first place. Now, here's what usually happens. The moment you withdraw, you start second-guessing yourself. You start wondering, wait, what if he doesn't care? What if he doesn't even notice? What if he moves on? And this is where most people trip up. They panic, they reach out again, they send that little check-in message, and just like that, they break the spell. Because here's the truth. When someone is starting to feel your absence, the moment you remind them you're still there, you relieve the pressure they were just beginning to experience. You give them the easy out. You take away the very tension that was making them realize they might lose you. And once that tension is gone, it's right back to where it started. You chasing, them knowing you'll always be there, the balance tipped in the wrong direction. The challenge is in holding your ground long enough for the realization to actually set in. It's about trusting the process. If he actually cares, he will notice. He will feel it. And if he doesn't, well, then that tells you everything you need to know. Because someone who truly values you won't let you disappear from their life without making a move to keep you in it. And that's the ultimate test, isn't it? You're not stepping back to manipulate an outcome. You're stepping back to reveal the truth. This is why confidence is so important, because when you know your worth, you're not afraid of what happens when you create space. You're not afraid of the silence. You're not afraid of what happens next, because you understand that your value doesn't come from whether or not someone misses you. It comes from knowing that you bring something special to the table. And the right person, they're going to recognize that. The wrong person, they're going to let you walk away. Either way, you win. So if you're in that place right now where you feel like you've been giving, showing up, making an effort, and you're not getting the same energy in return, take a step back. Not to punish him, not to prove a point, but to allow him to actually feel what life is like without you constantly filling the space. Give him the chance to register the absence, to realize the difference between when you were there and when you're not. And then watch what happens. A woman who isn't desperate for attention is incredibly attractive. Think about it. We are naturally drawn to people who have something going on, who exude a sense of purpose, who don't seem like they're waiting around for someone else to validate them. When you pull away, it sends a clear message. I don't need you to feel whole. And that is the most magnetic energy you can bring into any dynamic. Men, just like anyone else, are wired to pick up on confidence. But confidence isn't about saying the right thing or playing a role. It's about how you live your life. It's the quiet conviction that says, I am enough. When a man senses that you don't need his attention to feel worthy, it does something to him. It makes him curious. It makes him think, wait a second, why isn't she chasing me? Why isn't she trying to impress me? That curiosity leads to effort. And effort is what makes attraction meaningful. Now let's talk about why this happens. When we meet someone new, there's often an imbalance. One person is more invested than the other. And if you're always the one giving, always the one showing up, always the one making things easy, he doesn't have to work for your presence. There's no challenge, no tension. He knows you're there, so he doesn't have to think about what it would feel like if you weren't. But the moment you step back, something shifts. Suddenly, your attention isn't a given, it's not guaranteed. And that's when he starts feeling it. He starts wondering if he took it for granted. He starts questioning why you're not as available. He starts to experience something rare in a world where most people are constantly seeking validation. He experiences the absence of validation. And in that absence, his mind starts working overtime. This isn't about games. It's about energy. If you pour all of your energy into him, where is the energy for yourself? Where is the energy for your passions, your friendships, your personal growth? The moment your world stops revolving around him is the moment he realizes you have a world of your own. And that is what makes you irresistible. Not because you're ignoring him to get a reaction, but because you genuinely have better things to do than sit around waiting for someone to notice you. Think about it like this. If you're always reaching out, always texting first, always making sure he feels comfortable, where is the space for him to miss you? Attraction isn't just about presence, it's also about absence. It's about what someone feels when you're not there. If you've ever had a favorite song, you know that playing it on repeat dulls the magic. But if you go a few weeks without hearing it, suddenly when you do, it hits differently. You appreciate it more, you feel it more deeply. Relationships work the same way. So what does this look like in real life? It looks like investing in yourself. It looks like not abandoning your hobbies, your friendships, or your ambitions just because someone new walks into your life. It looks like being genuinely busy, not pretending to be, but actually building a life so full that when he reaches out, you're not waiting by the phone, hoping for his attention. You're out there, living, growing, thriving. And that is what makes someone want to be around you, because people don't chase after neediness. They chase after energy. They chase after confidence. They chase after the feeling that being with you is a privilege, not a favor. Now, some people hear this and think, but what if I lose him by stepping back? What if he stops trying? And the answer to that is simple. If you pulling back makes him disappear, he was never really invested in the first place. A man who truly wants you will notice the shift and step up. A man who is only there for convenience will drift away. And that's not a loss, it's a blessing. Because why would you want to spend your time and energy on someone who only values you when you're easy to get? What you want is someone who recognizes your worth even when you're not constantly proving it. Someone who puts in effort because he sees the value in you. Someone who understands that your presence is not a given, but a choice you make every single day. And the only way to attract that kind of person is to become that kind of person. Someone who knows their own value, who doesn't beg for attention, who lives with the kind of confidence that makes people stop and take notice. So if you ever find yourself tempted to overextend, to chase, to constantly seek reassurance, pause, step back, redirect that energy inward. Focus on becoming someone who is so deeply fulfilled by their own life that anyone who enters it sees it as a privilege to be there. That is how you create attraction. That is how you inspire effort. That is how you become truly magnetic. Because the moment you stop needing his attention is the moment he starts feeling the need to earn yours. The energy you give to someone dictates the way they respond to you. If you're constantly pouring attention into a person, constantly analyzing their every move, waiting for their next text, their next sign of interest, you create an energy imbalance. You become the giver and they become the receiver. And the moment that happens, the effort they need to put in drops. Because why would they chase what they already have? Why would they work for what's freely given? We are naturally drawn to what requires our investment. Think about the things in life you value most: your job, your passions, your achievements. None of those came without effort, and that's exactly why they mean something to you. The same applies to relationships. If someone is too readily available, too eager, too invested before the effort has been matched, it dulls the experience. It removes the sense of excitement, the mystery, the curiosity that fuels attraction. Have you ever noticed how when you stop thinking about someone, they suddenly pop up? It's not some mystical force at play. It's because your energy has shifted. When you pull back, it forces the other person to step forward. It creates space for them to feel your absence, to wonder what's changed, to question why they're no longer at the center of your world. And that questioning is powerful. When you put too much energy into a man, he becomes comfortable. He knows you're there, he knows you're thinking about him, and he knows that no matter what, you'll be available. The second he senses that shift, that your attention is no longer on him, that your world is moving forward without him, it triggers something in his mind. He starts paying attention in a way he wasn't before. He starts to wonder why you're not chasing him anymore, why you're not reacting the way you used to, and suddenly your value in his mind skyrockets. And here's where most people get it wrong. They think ignoring someone means playing games, deliberately waiting hours to respond, acting uninterested just to get a reaction. That's not what this is about. It's not about manipulating someone into wanting you. It's about truly shifting your energy so that your focus is no longer on them. Because the most powerful kind of absence isn't the one where you're pretending, you're still thinking about them, still waiting for them to notice you. The most powerful kind of absence is when you're genuinely too busy living your life to care whether or not they do. The moment your energy stops flowing in their direction, they feel it. It's like when a room goes silent after being filled with noise. That silence is deafening. It makes them notice the absence of something they didn't even realize was there. And in that absence, they start to crave it. They start to chase what they once took for granted. They start making the effort they never had to make before. But the real win here isn't just making him chase. It's recognizing your own worth to the point that you don't need to do this for a reaction. It's about getting to a place where you naturally invest your energy in yourself, in your goals, in the things that truly fulfill you. And when a man comes along, you allow him to meet you there. Not because you need him, not because you're waiting for his attention, but because he's willing to step up and match the energy you bring. That's how you attract. Not by giving everything away too soon, but by holding on to the most valuable thing you have, your energy. And when you learn to direct it wisely, you won't have to chase. Because the right person will feel your absence and work to be present in your life. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And that's something most people don't realize because they think the loudest reaction is the most powerful. They believe that if they get upset, if they argue, if they make a big scene, that's what gets noticed. But the truth is, when you show someone they have control over your emotions, you've already given them power. Think about it. If you react every time he pulls away, if you chase when he stops calling, if you desperately try to get his attention when he seems distant, what message are you sending? You're telling him that your world revolves around his presence, that he can push and pull as much as he wants and you'll always be there. And if a person knows they can have you whenever they want, what's the urgency to step up? Where's the motivation to actually value what you bring? There isn't one, because you've become a certainty. People don't desire what they already have. They crave what they feel they might lose. When you show indifference, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that comes from genuine self-respect, You disrupt his expectation. You break the pattern. Suddenly, he's not the one in control. He's not dictating the pace. You are. And that shift is powerful. The reason this works is simple. When someone stops feeling your presence, they start noticing your absence. That moment when you stop reaching out, stop over-explaining, stop bending over backward to accommodate him, he feels it. He wonders where your energy went. He questions why you're no longer responding the way you used to. And that questioning plants a seed of doubt in his mind, a seed that grows into curiosity, then into concern, and eventually into desire. Most women think that if they don't show enough interest, they'll lose him. But that's only true if your connection is weak to begin with. If there's genuine attraction, if there's a real connection, then your ability to step back isn't going to ruin anything. It's going to make him step up. And if he doesn't step up, then you've just received the biggest gift of all, clarity. Because you don't want someone who only sticks around when you're making all the effort. You don't want someone who only values you when you're constantly proving yourself. The right person doesn't need to be chased. The right person recognizes your worth, even in silence. This is where your power lies. Not in trying to force someone to see you, but in making them realize they have to earn your attention. In understanding that the less you react, the more they reflect. And when a man starts to reflect, he starts to feel. You see, when someone knows they can affect your emotions, they feel in control. But when you stop reacting, when you stop feeding that need for validation, you change the game. He starts to question things. Why doesn't she care as much? Is she losing interest? Is she moving on? And suddenly, he's in the position of uncertainty. And that's when he starts to chase. Now, some people hear this and think it's about playing games. It's not. It's about shifting your mindset. It's about realizing that your value isn't in how much you prove yourself to someone, but in how much you recognize your own worth. And when you truly understand that, when you internalize that, you naturally become less reactive. You naturally become more selective with your energy. And that's the most attractive thing of all. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you feel the need to over-explain, to over-prove, to overcompensate for someone's lack of effort, pause, step back, reclaim your space, and watch how the dynamic shifts. Because the moment